The land held its breath. Dawn bled across the horizon like wine spilled on ivory cotton. The great houses of the south, those white-columned palaces of gentility, glimmered faintly through a veil of mist and gilt. Beneath their porches, vines climbed the marble like hands searching for forgiveness. The fields shimmered with dew, but the earth seemed restless, uneasy, as though it remembered everything the humans tried to forget. They called this place Elysium Ridge, a name stolen from paradise itself, yet the air carried the heaviness of punishment. Every bell that tolled from its chapels sounded like confession, hollow, delayed, unanswered. Beneath the hymns and sermons, something older whispered. The soil was not innocent, and neither were those who ruled over it. Within the grandest of mansions, Magnolia Hall, Lady Seraphine Vale sat before a cracked mirror. Her face, pale as candle wax, bore the exhaustion of a woman who had been sculpted into virtue but bled by secrets. Her gown, gold embroidery over shadow blue silk, clung like the memory of a sin she could not name. Behind her reflection, servants moved in silence, ghosts in flesh. She lifted a letter sealed with black wax. Its contents had arrived from Charleston under a false name, but she had known the hand immediately, Lord Alaric Duval, a man once bound to her by love, now bound only by vengeance. His words were soft daggers. When the masquerade begins, the masks will no longer hide you. The land remembers, Seraphine, as do I. That night the magnolias refused to close. The moon swelled, enormous and pale, and the air rippled with omen. The servants whispered of a figure seen walking by the orchard, a woman in white, barefoot, humming an old hymn that no one had sung since the last storm buried the chapel bell. Seraphine dreamt of her youth, the ballroom where she first danced with Alaric, the scent of smoke and violets, the secret they buried beneath the cypress tree. But in the dream, the cypress bled, and when she touched the trunk, her hand came away red. She awoke with the taste of salt and ash. By morning, riders arrived from distant estates. An invitation had gone out in Seraphine's name, though she had not written it. A masquerade to celebrate the harvest. The first gathering of every noble house in years. The paper gleamed with gold leaf and deceit. In every corner of Elysium Ridge, preparations began. Chandeliers polished, gowns tailored, candles imported from France, musicians summoned from ruined towns. The people whispered that such splendour was not meant for mortals. Even the birds fell silent, as if the sky itself feared what would unfold beneath it. As the servants decorated Magnolia Hall, one of them, a boy with eyes like tarnished copper, paused beside the old mirror in the corridor. He swore he saw the reflection of another woman standing behind him, wearing the same gown as Lady Seraphine, but with her throat bruised black. When he turned, there was nothing there, only the echo of a sigh. Night came early that evening. The lamps burned low, their light trembling like a secret on the verge of being spoken. Somewhere beyond the plantation, thunder rolled, slow and deliberate, as though a god were clearing his throat. Seraphine stood by her window watching the horizon. The storm glowed faintly red. Not fire, not lightning, but something in between. And in that burning twilight she whispered, almost to herself. The land held its breath. It would not exhale again for a very long time. The masquerade arrived like prophecy fulfilled. By twilight, Magnolia Hall had transformed into a cathedral of deceit. Every arch draped in crimson silk, every chandelier trembling with candlelight like captured stars. The air smelled of lilac, smoke, and something darker, the perfume of expectation. Carriages arrived from across the south. Dukes, judges, colonels, and their painted wives stepped out in plumes and pearls, each more gilded than the last, each carrying secrets like hidden blades. Music spilled from the ballroom, a slow waltz that sounded like memory itself decaying. At the top of the staircase stood Lady Seraphine Vale, radiant and pale, her mask carved of ivory and trimmed with gold filigree. Her gaze swept over the crowd not as a hostess but as a confessor, as if each guest carried a sin she already knew by heart. Her husband, Lord Percival Vale, descended beside her, tall, cold, his smile a line drawn in frost. His hand rested on hers with the gentleness of ownership. Then came Lord Alaric Duval, the man of the Black Seal. He entered without bow or introduction, his mask shaped like a raven's skull. his coat the colour of morning velvet. Whispers rippled through the hall. Some said he had been exiled after a duel that ended in blood and silence. Others that he had returned with foreign gold and darker appetites. Whatever the truth, even the candles seemed to recoil as he passed. The musicians shifted tempo, a waltz sharper now, more dangerous. Alaric extended his hand to Seraphine. "May I?" Her lips parted, but her voice betrayed nothing. "Of course, my lord." They danced. Every turn of the floor felt like a reckoning. Silk whispering against silk, eyes flickering behind jewelled masks. Around them, laughter turned brittle. Words turned to daggers sheathed in civility. The chandeliers swung ever so slightly, as if the house itself were breathing too hard. "Do you remember," Alaric murmured near her ear, "the night beneath the cypress? The vow you broke when the land was watching?" Her pulse betrayed her calm. "You swore never to speak of it." "I swore never to forget." Behind them, Lord Percival watched, unmoving. His glass of wine trembled, red as spilled truth. The hall's mirrors caught his reflection and multiplied it. One husband, 100 pairs of jealous eyes. Then came the unmasking ritual, the tradition every guest adored and feared. At midnight the bell would toll, and all would remove their masks at once. So that no lie survives the hour, the old superstition went. But Alaric leaned close and whispered, "Not all masks come off, Seraphine. Some become the face." The hour struck, the masks fell, laughter turned to murmurs, too many faces pale, too many eyes refusing to meet. Lord Percival's expression was unreadable, but Alaric's gaze burned like confession. Then came a sound that silenced all others, the shatter of glass. A servant had dropped a decanter near the edge of the dance floor, or perhaps been pushed. Red wine spread like blood between the marble tiles, crawling toward the feet of the guests. The thunder outside answered, deep and resonant, and then the power shifted. Alaric raised his glass and made a toast, to truth, to memory, to sins buried in magnolia roots. Each word seemed chosen by the devil himself. By the end of his speech, every guest looked at Seraphine as though she were both queen and sacrifice. Somewhere beyond the storm, the chapel bell rang, though it had been silent for years. Seraphine turned away from the crowd and whispered to herself, trembling not from fear, but from knowledge. It begins again. The wind blew through the hall, extinguishing half the candles, and in the dark that followed, one could almost hear the soil shifting outside, hungry to swallow something old and unholy.